Very good afternoon, all the second year BCom students. On behalf of Agarwal Vidya Vihar English Medium College, I, Dr. Kunjan Lotwala, welcome you all in today's written and spoken communication session. Now onwards, I will be dealing with compulsory English, that is to say, written and spoken communication. In today's session, firstly, I would like to discuss the syllabus and paper style of written and spoken communication, and later on, I will begin with the first poem of your syllabus, Life by Charlotte Bronte. So, let's begin with the introduction of the syllabus and the paper style. If you have any queries, you can ask questions. Now you can see your syllabus. It is SEM 3, the name of text, that is English in use. I hope you all should have this text with you so that whenever I discuss prose, poetry, functional writing, it will be helpful to you to understand the text and the lecture in better manner. So I suggest you to get the text. So the name of the text, I repeat, English in Use, Macmillan publication. You will have 3 proses and 3 poetries, and in functional writing you will have two functional writings. So in proses you can see the first prose is A Wrong Man in Workers' Paradise. Second prose will be Toasted English, and third, Grammar of Anarchy. In poetries, you will have first, Life, second, Punishment in Kindergarten, and third, As I Grew Older. In functional writing, you will have the questionnaire. These questionnaires are divided into various categories. So in the exam, it will be asked from any categories such as academic, social, economic, and commercial. And the second, that is report writing. You can see that business report and media report. So you will be asked any report in the exam. So you have to prepare all. Now let us have a glance on the paper style. The first question will be, or the first question is from the short answer questions from the poetry, so that you need not to prepare short question answers from the prose, right? So you have to focus poetry for only short question answers, right? And it will be of 2 to 3 sentences, right? So the 7 questions will be asked, and out of 7 questions you have to write 5 answers. It will be of 10 marks. Now the second question, it is of long question answers. The same, it will be from prose, not from the poetry. So you need not to prepare long question answers from the poetry. You just need to focus that no prose will be asked of 14 marks, and that will be long question answers, right? And the third, that is from the functional writing, questionnaire. So questionnaire, 2 questionnaires will be asked. Out of 2 you need to write 1 questionnaire, and that will be of 14 marks. As it is written here that questionnaire, whenever you ask questions in the questionnaires, minimum you need to ask 10 questions. So whenever I will discuss in detail, you will come to know that how to create the questions, how to ask the questions. And minimum 10 questions, it means that you need to keep in mind that you need to write 15 to 17 questions, right? Now the fourth is also from the functional writing, and that is report writing. So business report or media report. So 2 reports will be there. Out of 2 you need to write 1 report. So that is of 12 marks. So in total you will have 50 marks of question paper. So this is what about your syllabus. So 3 proses, 3 poetries and 2 functional writings. So I hope you are clear with the syllabus and the distribution of the marks. I will share this copy in Google Classroom so that you can keep it with you. Now moving ahead with the poetry section, that is life. As such, right now I can understand you may not have the textbook with you. So for your convenience, for your feasibility, I have prepared the slide so that whatever it is given into the text, I have already prepared on the slide. So today if you don't have textbook, it will do. But next session onwards, you should have textbook with you. I insist you. So moving ahead with the life poem. Life poem is written by Charlotte Bronte. You can see the photo of Charlotte Bronte also. This is the spelling, Charlotte Bronte. Why this 2 dots are emphasizing on E, and that's why it pronounced as Bronte. So this is Charlotte Bronte life poem, which is written by Charlotte Bronte. About the author, Charlotte Bronte, the lifespan is 1816 to 1855, was a 19th century English writer whose novel Jane Eyre, which was published in 1847, is considered a classic of Western literature. She was the eldest of the 3 Bronte sisters. So you see here that no, she is from Victorian era, as it is mentioned 19th century English writer. So she is from Victorian era. Her well-known novel is Jane Eyre, which was published in 1847, and it was considered as a classic of Western literature. So it was a well-known novel. She was the eldest of the 3 Bronte sisters. These 3 Bronte sisters were also well known for their works of art, and Charlotte was the eldest one. So Charlotte Bronte, Emily Bronte and Emmy Bronte, who survived into adulthood and went on to publish novels. Charlotte Bronte, like many women writers of her time, originally published her poems and novels, including Jane Eyre, under a male pseudonym. Pseudonym means pen name. Pen name means one is disguising one identity. So, as she is a lady writer, as she is a female writer, she is hiding herself into male pseudonym. And the name that she has given to herself, instead of Charlotte Bronte, she is using her name as Currer Bell. So the question here is, why did she use pseudonyms or pen name, or why did she hide her personality, or why did she hide her gender also? She used this pseudonym because she felt that the mode of writing and thinking was not what is called feminine. She felt that if people thought a man wrote her work, it would be more acceptable, but unfortunately, that did not stop them from banning Jane Eyre in the 1860s for a period of time, because it was said to be unsuitable for young ladies. And that's why she hid herself. You see that she need to hide herself, because she was thinking that if she is using the name of male pseudonym, then people will read it. People would like to read it. Remember that it was the Victorian era. So the female, they could not come up with their own creation. It was considered low category, and they were not even appreciated. So as a result of it, she has to use this male pseudonym. But somehow during Jane Eyre, she couldn't hide herself. So moving ahead with the poem, here the brief or the gist of the poem has been mentioned. So poem focuses on the realities of life and reminds us that we have to face moments of joy as well as sorrow, hope as well as despair in life. As you know that life is full of binaries and everything that no, at one moment you may feel happy, at the another moment you may feel unhappy. So life is made up of this duality. Writer is also talking about it. However, the poet urges us to have a positive attitude and not be disheartened by temporary setbacks. So one has to keep a kind of positive attitude during the worst time also, so that one can move ahead. She encourages us to look beyond the immediate disappointments and appreciate the pleasures life has to offer. She says that why to cry, why to lament on those worst times? You have happiness in your life. If worst time is there, then happiness is also waiting for you, because life is made up of these two things or duality. So why to lament on such certain things? She encourages us to look beyond the immediate disappointments and appreciate the pleasures life has to offer. She asserts that in the battle between hope and hope and despair, although despair may seem more powerful initially, it is hope that will win eventually. If hope and despair is there, obviously you see despair, that no, my life is full of sorrow, despair. But eventually you see that no, this despair will also disappear. Then this disappear, this this despair will disappear. This also showing a kind of hope. So it is hope that will win eventually. So this is what she is discussing in the poem Life. Have a glance on this poem. First of all, I would like to read the whole poem, and then later on I will discuss. You can see that no, at the first glance it is divided into 3 stanzas, right? And you will see when I'll read it, you will see that no, you just need to observe this thing, that no, the rhyme scheme also like A B A B, the whole poem is like that, except rain and dream is not going well, but at the same time it follows the rhyme scheme A B A B A B A B, like that way. The poem is divided into 3 stanzas, that is what you can see. And this poem was basically published in 1846. So now moving ahead with the poem, Life, believe, is not a dream, so dark as sages say. Oft, here oft means often, a little morning rain foretells a pleasant day. Sometimes there are clouds of gloom, but these are transient all. If the shower will make the roses bloom, oh, why lament its fall? Rapidly, merrily, life's sunny hours fleet by. Gratefully, cheerily, enjoy them as they fly. What though death at times step in and calls our best away? What though sorrow seems to win o'er hope a heavy sway? Yet hope again elastic springs, unconquered, though she fell, still buoyant are her golden wings, still strong to bear us well, manfully, fearlessly, the day of trial bear, for gloriously, victoriously, can courage quell despair? So it's very beautiful poem, and the way it begins. Now we are moving towards the appreciation of the poem. So look at the first line here. See, Bronte begins this piece with a repetition of the title. See the first line, life, believe, is not a dream. So life, again the title she is repeating. It is made clear to the reader from the beginning that this poem is going to be speaking on some element of life, and that's why she is repeating the title. Now look at the second line. So in the first line she is telling that life, believe, is not a dream. So life, whatever, you just believe me that no, life is not a dream, so dark as sages say. So in the second line she is telling that the speaker of this poem is seeking to pull back the shadow from the life. She wants to make clear to the reader that life is not something to be feared. It is the way sages means wise men. The way wise men, they are telling that no, take life seriously, right? Take life seriously. It is like dream. Dream is something which is showing a kind of darkness. You should be afraid of it. So she's telling that no, don't believe on this wise men or wise people. The wise people, whatever they are telling, don't believe. So life, believe, is not a dream. So believe in life, it is not a dream. The way so dark as sages say, as wise men, they are telling that no, it is so dark. So that's why speaker is telling, she is making so clear, she wants to make clear to the reader that no, life is not something to be feared or some dark dream that one has to dread, one should afraid of. Don't afraid of it. Third line, she is telling, oft means often, a little morning rain. So often a little morning rain foretells a pleasant day. So she is telling that the foretells means predict. So in third and fourth lines speak to how something that seems gloomy can foretell something pleasant, such as little morning rain bringing forth a calm and lovely day. So how rain is this often little morning rain predict the pleasant day. That no, though rain is there, but at the same time this rain is coming with that pleasant day. Fifth and sixth line, she is telling, sometimes there are clouds of gloom, but these are transient all. So gloom means unhappiness. So sometimes there are clouds of gloom. Gloom means unhappiness. She is using imagery. You see the natural imagery she is using. In the offer a little morning rain. Little morning rain. Morning rain is also a kind of natural imagery. You can visualize it. Morning and rain. You can imagine in your mind that no, it is morning, and no, in the morning time the rain is the drizzling is going on, and then how pleasant you are feeling, right? And sometimes the cloudy atmosphere, cloudy means it is gray and dark kind of atmosphere, so it creates a kind of gloom. Gloom means unhappiness. So sometimes there are clouds of gloom, but these are transient all. Transient means these all are temporary things. So though darkness is there, though gloominess, unhappiness is there, but this is all temporary, right? So she is telling that no, she gives two additional examples in this stanza. The speaker brings up gloomy clouds that covers the sky. And though these may seem ominous and forbidding, will clear that there are transient means temporary and do not last forever. It never lasts forever, because if gloominess, unhappiness is there, gradually there will be the happiness. So, moving ahead with the 6 and 7 line, she's telling, if the shower will make the roses bloom, again she is giving the another example, right? So again she is using the natural imagery. So imagery means it creates a kind of visual effect, right? You can visualize this thing. You can visualize morning rain, you can visualize clouds of gloom, and you can visualize the roses bloom, the roses. So if the shower will make the roses bloom, oh why lament its fall? So she's telling that she's giving the third example, and in the third example, this final two lines of the first stanza, she's asking the question: if the rain means that all the roses will bloom, why should one lament its fall? If shower is there, then you see the bright side. You see the bright side that no, the roses are blooming. So there is no reason to be sad over these elements of life, as they will all pass or bring with them something positive. So if something is happening, so it means that it will occur with some positivity. So in short, while the speaker is just discussing simple elements of nature, a deeper meaning can be drawn from their relationship to the real life. Clouds, just like bad days of one's life, will clear and eventually end. So unhappiness will also end. Cloud, gloominess, everything will be clear, and everything will be fine in the life. Even though for few minutes things may seem wretched, with rain pouring or dawn, the rain will stop and one's outlook will be better. So this is what she is mentioning into the first stanza. If you have any queries, you can pose the questions. Moving ahead with the second stanza, it is, you see that no, the second stanza is too small, right? So she's telling into the second stanza, rapidly, merrily, life's sunny hours fleet by. Gratefully, cheerily, enjoy them as they fly. So the second stanza of this piece is written much more lyrically. The words are almost asking to be sung. One can imagine someone dancing, dancing and springing in a circle as they celebrate these phrases. So she's telling no, rapidly, merrily. So it gives a kind of joyous feeling. So rapidly, merrily, life's sunny hours fleet by. One should enjoy the life. One should enjoy the each and every moment of the life, because the very moment you are living, it will fly, right? So one has to enjoy. One has to make most out of it. So the speaker says that no, rapidly and merrily fly by. The hours will pass without notice until suddenly they are gone. So no, whenever you are enjoying the moment, you don't even notice that no, it is flying, right? So until suddenly they are gone. The speaker is promoting a way of living in which one appreciates and enjoys each hour that passes. So one has to make most out of it. So whether it is happiness, whether it is unhappiness, one has to enjoy everything, because this is the part of life and one cannot do away with it. So if you have time, if you are enjoying the moment of the time, means that no, you live the life. Some people they though they are living the life, but they are dead living, right? So this is what no one should enjoy, make most out of it. So whatever the condition it is, one has to enjoy. So in this little stanza, second stanza, she is showing that kind of attitude that no one has to have positive attitude towards the life, right? Optimistic. One has to be optimistic towards the life. Now moving ahead with the third stanza, she's telling, what though that at times steps in and calls our best way. So in the final stanza, you see that no, it is so longest of the poem, and it conquers the way it is longest. It conquers the more duration of the part of the life and death. So in the no, she's asking questions, right? So what though death at times steps in and calls our best away? What though sorrow seems to win over hope, a heavy sway? So she's telling that no, she's asking. Sway means control. So the first two complete sentences of the stanzas are questions in which the speaker is basically asking that so what? She's asking the question that no, so what? So what if death at times stepping? And so what if sorrow seems to win? These things are temporary. The speaker is acknowledging that these things exist, but she is not allowing them to sway her, to control her. So that's why she is asking that no, whenever you are enjoying and no, suddenly death will step in. So what though death at times step in and calls our best away? So when you are enjoying the moment and suddenly next moment you will die. So better enjoy it, right? What though sorrow seems to win over hope, a heavy sway. So if sorrow at once that you feel that despair is winning over your hope, but hope gradually conquered it. You need to control yourself, right? So this is what she is asking the question. Further, she's telling, yet hope again elastic springs, unconquered. Unconquered means undefeated. Though she fell, she's telling that no, in this fifth line of this last stanza, third stanza, she's more hopeful. She describes hope as having elastic springs. Even though she fell in sorrow, she will bounce back up again in the hope. If she is having the hope is compared with elastic springs. So whatever, if she will fell down, but then again she will bounce back to that sorrow, because this elastic spring is described as hope. Due to hope, she will again unconquered. She will again undefeated towards the become the undefeated towards the life. So whatever, if life will give her fall, if life will defeat her, but she would not defeat herself. She will unconquered or such kind of sorrow, despairs, right? Next line, she is talking about still buoyant are her golden wings, still strong to bear us well. So now she's telling that no, I will use this elastic spring to bounce back, and I have this golden wings also. So her golden wings are still strong and buoyant. Buoyant means resilient. This is buoyant and will be able to bear us well, and this will no, she will able to float or rise to the surface of the liquid. So she will bear everything well. Buoyant means she will float on that surface. Though she is drowning, but at the same time she is buoyant. So she is having these golden wings because she is so strong. She will become so strong and buoyant that she will be able to bear everything well. So she is showing a kind of how courageous, how bold she is, that though life will give her darker side, but then also she will pierce the darker side of this life, and she will bounce back. She has these golden wings of hope. She is so strong that she will float, and she will rise to the surface of this darkness, right? And the last four lines she's telling: manfully, fearlessly, the day of trial bear, for gloriously, victoriously, can courage quell despair. So she's in this, she's showing her character. This character in the poem that can be representing the poet herself, or perhaps someone she knows quite personally and has depending on that for support in the past. Maybe her mother or maybe her sisters. So in the last four lines of the poem, uh, speaker of she is showing the strength in which the speaker is promoting living fearlessly and manfully. Manfully means courageously, as a strong man would live. So she will live her life courageously. She concludes with when one's day of trial comes. So she is telling that the day of trial comes. This trial means in Christianity, this could be simply one's death or the end of the life, when one is facing the God, the end of the day. So whenever the death will come, so the trial comes, this could be simply one's most challenging day. This is the end of the life, and this is the challenging day or the end times itself, in which one will be judged by God. So God will give you punishment, or rather, if you have done good deeds, God will reward you. So this is the judgment day. Trial means a judgment day, which is there in this belief is there in the Christianity. So she is using that concept of Christianity. So at that time, at the day of this trial, she will be a victorious in courage. She will have the courage. No despair can quell. Quell means crush her. No despair can crush her. The victory the one feels when holding on to hope. Nothing can touch it, and not even death. So whenever the trial will be there, whenever the death will be there, she won't even afraid of it. She won't even afraid of the day of this trial also. She won't even afraid of this judgment day. So that's how she will become so courageous, so unconquered, that on the day of trial, she is like standing gloriously, victoriously, and she will have the courage to crush the despair. So though generally people will have despair, people are afraid of this trial or the day of judgment or the end of the day or the death, end of the life and the death. But she says that no, even despair cannot touch me. No, it's she will rather quell means crush the despair. So I hope I clear the analysis, or you are clear with the idea of the whole poem. If you are finding any problem with any lines, stanzas, you can ask questions. You can ask questions in Google Classroom also. I will be providing no understandable reply. I'll try my best to provide it. And as far as the meaning of the certain glossaries that you would require, I have provided in the next slide, so that you can get the meaning of it. So sage is a wise man, often foretell to say what is going to happen or predict. So one can forecast it. Gloom, that is darkness, a feeling of unhappiness. Transient, that is temporary. Bloom, bloom means that no, it's getting mature. That is, here it is related to the roses. The way roses is getting bloom. Then lament, why to lament means why to cry. Merry, happiness, fleet, fly, to pass quickly. Sway, control, unconquered, undefeated, buoyant, able to rise or float to the surface of the liquid, manfully, courageously, quell, stop or crush, or despair, to lose hope. So this is what is related to the poem Life by Charlotte Bronte. I would like to discuss questions also, but let's see, we can take 1 2 questions, or else we can discuss question answers of poem Life in next session. Okay, so this is what is all about the poem Life. I will be providing you the material on this. I'll be providing you the answers, question answers, as well as the syllabus. Everything you will get in Google Classroom. Okay, so this is all about the uh, poem Life. In next session, I will be discussing the question answers of Life poem, and later on I will be beginning with the prose, second prose, and by that time you just procure the text. The name of the text, I repeat, English in Use, Macmillan publication. So get the text, and I'll be discussing the next prose, Wrong Man in Workers Paradise, with the next session. Okay, thank you so much.